Zinc Media. Feel the power of knowledge.
We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with completely, and among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
Good evening, my fellow Americans. It is I, your lovable host, Rod, coming to you live from my bunkerized home studio somewhere within the great granite state of New Hampshire. Yes, indeed, it is. It is Friday, January the 11th in the year of our Lord 2013, which means it's the Friday Night Follies. Yes, we try to take things a little bit lighter in the state here on Friday nights with a state that has the motto of live free or die, not big government or bust. We try to take things a little bit lighter on Fridays. We still cover the stuff that needs to be covered, the important stuff, but I also bring you a bunch of the funny stuff that in one way or another, eventually down the road, always seems to affect or effect our liberties and freedom here. So I bring that kind of stuff to you, and we just try to have a little bit more fun and celebrate our freedom while we have the chance to still do so. It's no joke that I say that kind of stuff, folks. That there are people out there that want to take away your freedom and your liberty, just to fulfill whatever sick, twisted, demented thing that they want to do. And it's usually do to you, not do for you. Whenever a government wants to do something for me, I always have to, back up and say, and think about it, and take a look at it, because 90% of the time, it's not that they want to do something for me, it's they want to do something to me. And speaking of doing something to me, now, well, we're in the, we've just completed 2 weeks in the, two pay periods, I should say, in the new year. And I have to ask people, how many of you noticed anything different in your paycheck? Did you notice things that you didn't like your taxes going up a little bit there? Yeah, I mean, everybody's gonna there is I got so much stuff today here, folks, for you. It's kind of redonkulous, as they say. But during my travels and travails of researching for the show today, I noticed that there was an article that showed that most people are getting hit with a tax increase, and that many people pay some form of tax, a federal tax, and that's no joke. Maybe a lot of people don't pay. Well, I mean, you got the Social Security tax and things like that. Well, that's also an income tax, and you have to, because it's based on your income. Now, I know this is kind of hard for some people to say, well, Rod, it's not an income tax. Yeah, it's an income tax. It's based on your income. It's based, you pay that tax based on your income. Now, other taxes aren't based on income, like sales taxes and, driver's licenses, that's a tax. Most of that stuff is not based on your income, so it's not an income base, thus income tax. Your Social Security, FICA, and Medicare, and income tax, obviously, are all income taxes. We like to call them payroll taxes because in most of those, except for your own personal income tax, your employer kicks in a good portion for it too. So they try to call it a payroll tax, but in reality, that's just to take away from the fact that it's an income tax. So now your income tax has gone up it went up to 2% because it was only a temporary cut that Obama gave us. And isn't this terrible to think about? Yeah, Obama gave us. What is this he gave us? It's our money. He doesn't give us jack. I'm just reiterating and just so you understand, so that people fully, because a lot of people don't. A lot of people don't get it. But be that as it may, here we are sitting on Friday the 11th. There's nothing going on much this weekend. I think next weekend we've got we've got all the inaugural stuff is happening, as well as Civil Rights Day / Martin Luther King Day. The Monday, not this coming Monday, but the following Monday. Was it 21st? Is it 21st? Personal agenda, so they hear what I'm saying, but they don't bother to listen and comprehend. Now, I got an email, from last night's show. I got an email this morning, and it really berated me for being a homophobiac, basically. That I hated gays. And I don't... No, that is not the case. Now, I'm going to try to explain this yet one more time. Because I know if this one person took the time to write me and try to berate me this way, then that means a lot of people who listen to this are probably going to misconstrue what I said. Now, let me be very, very clear. Now, yes, there is something called the Old Testament. If you're going to be speaking Christian in a Christian style and basing it on the Bible, there is something called the Old Testament. The Old Testament, pretty clear that homosexuality is a sin. I'm sorry, it is. But so are a lot of things. Now, understand, there were no degrees of sin in God's eyes back in the day. I mean, all sin was, and still even in the New Testament, in modern times, sin is sin. There are only humans put degrees to our transgressions. Jaywalking. Oh, just for an example, jaywalking, that's barely even bad. That's from a scale of 1 to 10, that's a 0.5. Hey, we put degrees in that stuff. Murder, well, that's a 10. Well, depending on who you murder, it could be an 11. But on a scale of 1 to 10, that's a 10. If God were to say that jaywalking was a sin, God would see jaywalking as a 10, murder as a 10. You understand? And there is proof of that in the Bible. God doesn't give us degrees of sin. So a sin is a sin. Disrespecting your parents, a sin. That's a 10. Lying. It's a sin. That's a number 10 sin. A crime. It's a 10 in God's. So all sin in God's eyes was deserving of death. And then we get to the New Testament. And this is where a lot of Christians get tripped up. Christ, if you just read what Christ said, he said he didn't come to change the law, but to fulfill it. Now, he didn't wash everything away, and please understand that the basic laws or tenets given by God were the Ten Commandments. And if you live by the Ten Commandments, you don't need all the stuff in Deuteronomy and Leviticus and stuff like that. But see, we're human. We're stupid humans that we want to test the limits. So now we got to have all these specific. Well, God, in the Ten Commandments, you didn't specifically say. So now here comes, we have to he's got to try to specifically spout out everything for us stupid idiots who are acting like children who want to push the limits. He's got to, it's kind of, remember the Brady Bunch episode? I know I'm going back in the day, but some people don't know what the Brady Bunch is. But there's an episode of the Brady Bunch where Greg gets into trouble. And Greg says, well, you didn't specifically say this. You said that. I just wish you said exactly what you meant. Now, he got out of trouble being grounded, so he thought. Because good old smart dad, Mr. Brady, said, I think Greg is going to find out that trying to be that specific about what you mean when you say something is going to be a hell of a lot more difficult than he realizes. And sure enough, as the show progresses, Greg gets caught by his own words. And he ends up at a point where he says, look, that's not what I meant. And his dad said, but remember, Greg, you said you didn't want to go by what you meant, but by what you said. Now, see, this is the same thing. We have all of these different things that we like to think meaning to, but that's not what it means. That's not what you meant, God. Well, maybe you meant it, but you didn't really specifically say it. So then he had to try to spell it out for us. And, surprisingly enough, we still didn't get it, but he tried to spell it out. But all the while, he was also telling us, there's going to be a day when there's just going to be a single sacrifice for your sins. And then that's what Jesus was. Now, Jesus said that's the law. He came to fulfill. Law is sin and erasing sin. The law states that when there is a sin, there has to be a death to wash away. There has got to be blood to wash away the sin. That's why there were certain kinds of sacrifices. There has to be a way to cleanse the sin. So Jesus was the fulfillment, the permanent fulfillment of that law. Now, it doesn't mean that now that we have Jesus that we can just go out there and sin. But what Christ also told us, look, you all have sinned. You all are deserving of death, and that's why I'm here. But God doesn't, now I know there are people out there saying God hates. God doesn't hate anyone. He hates sin. Yes, and he can get angry at people, his children, like any parent does. He can punish his children like any parent does. But he doesn't hate anyone, including homosexuals. Now, here's the thing that I try to put forth. If you believe that being who you are is not a sin. Straight, gay, if you believe that